Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Tonight is going to be a jam-packed info session. So you may want to grab a notebook and pen. Oops, come down this way. You may want to have something handy to take notes with, or you may just want to sit back and relax and take it all in. And then if you have questions, go back on replay and watch again. So tonight's Learning Live is all about trimmers. And Matt, I think we've got lots of eyeballs on. Matt is moderating over in the corner for me. Lots of eyeballs, Matt?
A few, yep.
A few eyeballs. All right, so everyone is tuning in, and welcome on this very soggy Tuesday evening. It's actually not too soggy here anymore, but it's been a rainy day. It was wet earlier here in Whitby. It was wet in Stouffville. And you know what? The gardens need the rain, so I'm certainly not going to complain. And it's not the white stuff yet, so we are not saying the S word. It's all good. So, oh, and now Matt's dropping stuff on my desk. Anyway, we are here to talk about trimmers tonight. And Matt, if you want to put up that first slide, here's a little bit about what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about slide trimmers. We are going to talk about guillotine trimmers. We are going to talk about rotary trimmers. And in that case, well, actually both guillotine and rotary specifically, we are talking about Tim Holtz trimmers that we carry in the store. And then we are going to talk about a brand new multi-tool trimmer that is new from Sizzix. So those are the four areas that we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to give you the ins and outs of each one of these different trimmers, what kind of crafter they are best suited for, and all the stuff that I know. So I'm going to share all the things. Now, probably in the interest of keeping things moving along, I am going to talk about each trimmer, then we will do a recap, and then if you have questions about that trimmer in specific, we'll save our questions to the end of each segment. You can pop your question in at any time, but we'll probably cover most of the answers at the end of each segment. As we were prepping for this, when we got to both the rotary trimmer and the new multi-tool trimmer, or as Matt calls it, the project trimmer from Sizzix, we realized that if we were to tell you all the things about those two alone, we'd be here for about 2.5 days. So
not hours, days.
Not hours, days. So we are going to try and keep things informative, but maybe a little bit more top line. And when we get to that multi-tool one, there is a lot that we can talk about with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend things, and we are going to do our Learning Live next week just on that multi-tool. And I will recap that once we get back to that. So happy Tuesday evening. We are all about trimmers, and I am going to start right in with probably the most basic style of trimmer, and that is the slide trimmer. That's really the best way to describe it. Mine is coming up on 19 years old. I have had this particular trimmer. I actually have two that are exactly the same. It was definitely one of the very first tools that I purchased. And when you get a good one, when you get one that you love, you know that it is going to last, and you want it to last. A trimmer is not something that you should be buying every year or every couple of years. This should last. Now I'm going to try and bring mine up super close to the camera here. You can tell that mine's well loved. It is, some of the markings have rubbed off. Some of the, there's some scratches on there. I've got tape and things marked. This, like I said, is 19 years old. It is a Fiskars. So Fiskars is the brand that we carry in the store. primarily because I love my Fiskars. You know, that's one of the perks of being the store owner is that I get to choose what we carry. And the other, I mean, this has lasted me obviously 19 years. I've said that a couple of times. But what I absolutely love about Fiskars as a company is that they stand behind their product. I have heard of crafters who have had various issues, including my issue of worn off numbers. I could have reached out to Fiskars and they likely would have sent me an entire new trimmer. I've just made do, so I don't worry too much about that. Fiskars has a variety of styles, and I know one style in particular has provided some angst for crafters because it has the wire in the flap in the slide bar, and that caused a lot of difficulties. And Fiskars, in every story that I heard, replaced that mechanism, replaced that piece for customers, no questions asked. So we believe in Fiskars, and that's what we have in the store. Now, as I said, there's a variety of styles, and we've got a couple of entry-level styles of Fiskars in the store. The basics of a slide trimmer, very obviously, is that your blade slides. So it has a stationary track that the blade slides along. You can either cut from the top down or the bottom up, or both, not at the same time, but alternating. It is a very versatile tool. It does offer replacement blades, and I'm just trying to find. Nope, not in that drawer. It's got to be in this drawer. So there are a couple of different styles of blades in that. This one has more of a low profile. It's just got that little bump for you to put your fingers on. You also have the option of the higher profile. So you can see that this has a bit more of a handle for you to actually hold and slide back and forth. And really, this is the perfect trimmer for a beginner. And as a scrapbooker, I would say that this is your most basic, awesome multifunction tool that will do all the cutting for a scrapbooker that they will really ever need to do. The platform height is slightly bigger than 12 inches, so it will absolutely fit your 12 by 12 paper. If you are cutting larger than 5 inches, it does have an arm to pull out. And I would say that that is one of the best kept secrets of these particular trimmers. A lot of people, especially when they're starting out, don't realize that that arm is beneath. So if you've got one of these trimmers, flip it over and you are sure to find that arm, and that allows you to measure out your paper all the way. This one actually goes past 15 inches. I can't say that I have ever done more than a 12-inch cut, but it is nice to have that extra length if you need it. From a very basic level, what you do is you figure out what size you want. I'm just going to use this to cut off the advertising strip on this from a demonstration purpose. So I'm going to measure right at the 12-inch mark, and I'm going to close my flap, and I'm just going to very gently push all the way to the top. Cuts off my advertising strip or whatever strip I want, and now my 12 by 12 piece is ready to go for my scrapbooking for whatever project I'm going to work on. The real key, and this is a slightly different for each model of a slide trimmer, is where that gap happens, where that edge hits. In this case, it does hit right about the 5-inch mark, but they have built in some extra markings here to help you know where that gap is. And that way, if you are cutting 5 inches, you can just go to that line since there isn't a 5-inch mark at the top. And like I said, with Fiskars, there are slightly different models where the deck is a little bit narrower or a little bit wider. You just have to get to learn your particular trimmer at that point, but from a functionality standpoint, it is all the same. Other features of this trimmer, There is also markings over here on the right. And I tend to use that if I'm doing really, really skinny strips, anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch, because as I'm sliding my paper along, I'm actually going to get a little scrap here just to share with you. I'll use this red piece here. If I wanted to cut 1/4 of an inch, doing it the traditional way, I'd have to try and figure out how to line it up here to the left of the cut track. But if I go this way and go to the 1/4 of an inch mark, it gives me a lot more to hold onto, and it makes sure that that paper doesn't slide. I'm just going to double check that measurement. And then when you slide it up, easy peasy, you've got that narrow little strip. So it is nice that you have both the right side and the left side of that cutting track in order to make your cuts. I did mention that the blade is replaceable. We talked about the replacement blades. Couple things to note. So first off, most Fiskars trimmers have in this plastic piece here, there is a little area. If you look really closely at your little fluffy bit, there is an area that is a slightly wider notch, and I'm sure I'm not going to be able to show it well here on camera, but for me, it's at the top. Some other brands or some other models have it at the bottom. It's just that little bit wider so that that blade cartridge can just slide in, and then you put it down. And then this way it stays nice and tight in the track, except when you're there at the top, that can then lift out, and that's where you can replace your blade. If you are so when you are trimming your paper, pay attention to over the course of an hour, over the course of an evening, as you're crafting, are you someone that usually goes bottom to top? Or are you someone who usually goes top to bottom? Or do you go both ways, up and then down? There's no wrong answer, but the reason why I say that, and again, let's see if we can get it to show up well on camera, is that the blade on the trimmer, it's not going to show very well, is actually a triangle. So imagine that your blade goes like this. So if you're someone who always pushes down, your bottom half of your triangle is going to be the thing that dulls. So before you replace your trimmer blade, flip it around and use the other side. If you are having difficulty getting clean cuts, try flipping your blade around. What you might want to do is put a little black dot on there to say, okay, I'm starting on this side, and then put a black dot on the other side when you rotate it around just to keep track. But that is just a little tip, a little hack to make sure that your blade lasts a little bit longer. Now, if it's the middle of the night, you are crafting away, your favorite Papercrafters workshop store is closed for the evening, and you need to get a new blade because your cuts are not happening very sharp, go to the website, order your blade, and then get out a piece of tin foil. If you cut a few cuts out of tin foil, it will temporarily sharpen your blade to get you through your project, to get you through the end before you can come over to the store and get your new blades and get them ready to go. Now, probably the most asked question we get with respect to this trimmer is, how do I know what blade to get? Matt's laughing because even he knows the answer to this. I'm going to take my blade out just so it doesn't topple, but especially in newer blades, let's see, do I even have it on mine?
I don't think you do. Yours is too old.
I think mine is too old, but on newer models, and by newer, I mean 15 years old or newer, in the embossed part, so mine just has like a patent, there we go, just has a patent logo, but if you look on the back of your trimmer in an embossed plastic area, it will say blade style, and then it will be followed by a letter. The most common ones are I, K, and G, I think is the other one, Matt?
Yes.
So there are three, to my knowledge, there are 3 different styles of blade. So you're always going to flip it over, check out what is on the back of your trimmer. Maybe then get it a Sharpie, give it a big circle so that you can always find it. And if you notice, and I mean, I've cut the top off of my packaging, but mine is blade style I. So I know that that is the right blade for my trimmer. And so I will always buy style I when I am buying new blades. And I tend to keep a stash of them just to make sure that I always have a good blade handy. I find this one is infinitely portable. It works for all my scrapbooking whenever I'm pulling out and cutting down 12 by 12. This is the trimmer that I pull out, and it has lasted me a long, long time, and I hope that it lasts me a much longer time. So get your questions ready if you haven't already put them in the comments. I'm just going to do a quick recap on slide trimmers. So slide trimmers are, well, and when I say they're good for scrapbookers, they are good for all crafters, but I recommend these highly to scrapbookers in particular. They are portable and they are affordable. So it really gives you extra budget and extra money to be spending on paper and goodies for your crafting and have this really reliable tool ready to go. Before I go and answer questions, I am going to say one other thing. This is not the kind of trimmer that you want to be cutting 3, 4 sheets at a time. I've done it, not successfully. This plastic bar does tend to move around a little bit, and it is difficult to get clean, straight cuts if you are trying to cut too many pieces at once. But for scrapbookers, when we're usually cutting one piece at a time, it is the perfect tool for your everyday cutting. All right, so now Matt's going to hit me with some of your questions if you have any.
No questions.
No questions on the slide trimmer. Okay, if you guys think of anything later on, don't hesitate to pop them in the comments. We will definitely come back at the end of this video, or in all transparency, probably in the morning, and answer as many questions as we can. Or if you think of something after the fact, you know where to find us, customer service at craftersworkshop.ca. All right.
Oh, what are the differences between the blades?
What are the differences between the blades? Can you pop that question up on the screen, please? So what are the differences between the blades? It really just comes down to the style of trimmer and how the blade is held in the mechanism. So I is by far the most common, and that is the one that I use on my slide trimmer here, is for what is called a, I think it's called a multi-track. There is 2 areas on this plastic piece that hold it into place.
Triple track.
Triple track. Thank you, Matt. Matt corrected me. It's triple track. The K blade is for the bar style. So it has a silver metal bar on the trimmer. And so it is a different mechanism that holds the blade in place. The blade itself for all of those different trimmers is not different. It's still that little triangle. It's more the mechanism and the delivery cartridge, if you will, that changes them up. So again, take a look at your trimmer. If you're ever in doubt, and especially if you're local, definitely just bring your trimmer in with you, and we're happy to help you. If you're not local, take a picture of your trimmer. We're pretty good at being able to figure out with the Fisker trimmers which blade goes with which, and we are happy to help you out with that. Okay, so I'm going to put this away. I've got a nice handy little shelf here on my workstation. The next trimmer that I am going to share with you is the guillotine trimmer. And again, specifically, the trimmers from our friend, Mr. Tim. Now, the small one, I have the tonic style. The Tim Holtz one is pretty much identical, except it's black instead of blue. And number 3, the Big Daddy. So these are the 3 sizes. This is 6 1/4 inches. This is 8 1/2 inches. And this is 12 1/4 inches. And the size primarily refers to the height of the deck that you are working on. So this little guy, if you look really closely, again, not sure if it's going to show up. 6¼ inches of space from the top to the bottom of the cutting area. 8½, 12¼ What are these good for? So this one is one I would say crosses all kinds of crafting, crosses a lot of different purposes, and it is ideal for cutting multiple pieces. So I can cut two to four sheets at a time with these guys. This little guy, I will be totally transparent. He's super cute. He is super portable, but he doesn't cut a lot because 6¼ inches doesn't get you very far. If you primarily work with 6x6 pads, or if you want to use this for photo matting, this is the perfect size. But these two guys, I will tell you, if I had to do without either one of these, I would be very, very, very sad. These are the ones that I pull out probably most frequently for my card making, and the level of precision that you get with these cuts is amazing. All right, I'm going to just focus on the medium guy first, talk about the basics of the mechanism. Big Daddy works on a lot of the same principles. Then I'll come back to Big Daddy and show you some of the extra features to him. But here we go. So regardless of the size, guillotine trimmer, instead of it having a blade that slides, it has an arm that has the cutting blade. I better not cut myself. Right here along the arm. And the idea is it cuts both from the sharpness of the blade and the friction as the blade rubs against this metal bar on the base. So the friction and the pressure of that cutting blade pushing in and pushing through the paper is what is going to give you your clean cut. Now, I will tell you that even someone who has worked with a lot of these tools a fair bit, I learned something new today. So traditionally what I would do is I would put my paper in here towards the top. If I want to measure it at 5 inches, I just go over here to the number 5. I hold it in place. I use this guide to hold it down, and I chop. If you're only cutting one piece of paper at a time, that is perfectly acceptable. You're going to get a nice clean cut, no little fuzzies, very smooth, very clean. And so long as you've pushed against the top and held it with the guide, it's going to be straight. But one of the frustrations that I've had over time is when I am cutting multiple pieces of paper, sometimes they slide and they get a little bit wonky. And what I learned today, watching a completely different Tim Holtz video, is that when this pushes down, just by the force of nature and, as my son would say, physics, things tend to slide. So Tim's recommendation, which is going to be something I'm going to have to practice, but it makes total sense, is instead of lining your paper up at the top, line it up at the bottom. And that way you are getting the full force of the back end of the blade, which is the bulkier part of the blade. You're not worrying about it trying to get in here where it's really thin and delicate. Plus, you're going to have a lot more pressure on it holding it here that it's not going to slide. So say I'm going to take this down now to 4½ inches. There is a ruler on the bottom. So ruler on the top, ruler on the bottom. If you are someone who likes to do projects or watch videos from the UK or Australia or somewhere where they prefer metric, the rulers are both imperial and metric, so that is definitely a bonus. Anyways, I'm going to go to 4½. I'm going to hold down here. This guide is to hold your paper in place. It is also for your safety. You should always hold it on the plastic only. Not like this. Not a good idea. Matt is laughing. He probably doesn't even remember our very first trade show where we saw Tim doing guillotine demonstrations. The way Tim described it as, that's a choice. You choose to not do it properly. But again, that little cut and it didn't slide. So especially if you are doing multiple pieces of paper at the same time, you're going to want to come to the bottom, have the pressure coming towards that edge, and then you'll get a much straighter cut. Now, I'm going to say something that is not 100% accurate. These guillotine trimmers are described as self-sharpening. It's not 100% true because it's not actually fully sharpening the blade, but the friction between this metal bar and the blade is definitely going to keep it sharp. I've had this trimmer, since we took over the store, which is, 6 years, never had to sharpen or replace this blade. Same with the big guillotine. I know Sandy used it for many, many years, never had to replace a blade. So that is a great feature to it that you don't have to worry about replacement blades. If you find that things are getting a little bit loose, you're just going to go into your IKEA stash, find an Allen key, and tighten up this screw right here. It does get loose over time, so just giving that a little bit of a tighten is good to go. Going to take a sip of water here. Because of that friction, you can get very fine cuts. So again, I'm just going to come a little bit off to, a little bit over from where I was before, and let me just show you how fine. Look at how skinny that piece of paper is. So you can get very fine cuts, and if you are finding that maybe you made a boo-boo or you need to cut something down, you don't need to ditch the whole project. You can cut something very fine and very precise with this trimmer. So the 8.5, the medium trimmer, is pretty much as you see it. You've got your blade, you've got your guide, nothing to pull out. So where that does make it a little bit tricky is if you are working with 12 by 12 or you want bigger cuts. The biggest measurement is 6 inches. So you may have to do a little bit of math. Hopefully not too hard math, but I will tell you again, I've not had any issues with it. Coming over to Big Daddy. Big Daddy has a little bit more versatility if you do like to cut bigger paper. Or maybe you are a mini album maker and you like to use this to cut chipboard and that kind of thing. So once again, the ruler only goes to 6 inches. We've got a ruler at the top with metric and imperial. We've got a ruler in the middle with metric and imperial, and another one down here at the bottom. You've got your guides again, just like the medium one. This time you've got a much bigger arm, of course, and right now it looks a little bit ugly.
Put the handle on.
Matt says I should put the handle on. That's where I'm going next. So with this guy, what you're going to do is you're going to flip him over, and there are 2 extra pieces stored underneath. This piece here is the handle. This is the extra arm to get you extra length. And if you look, they've even written in where to put it. So the handle goes over here, the extension ruler goes here, and it tells you to press to release. Your handle, doesn't matter which way it goes, you're simply going to, let me come over here, you're just going to put it on the little notch here. If you are not traveling with this, if you're not worried about storage, you can absolutely keep this handle on. I find it sticks out way too far, so in all transparency, I tend not to use it. But if you want the proper safety protocols as well as ease of use, that handle makes it very easy to cut. I clearly need a little bit of WD-40 for mine in that hinge. Again, if you need to tighten it, just grab an Allen key and tighten it up. Now flip over to the other side. There's a little secret passageway in here. This little guy just presses in, and that's where this extension ruler goes into place. So I'm going to have my ruler, the number's going the right way. I'm going to pull out this little foot, and this little piece is going to slide into that secret passageway just like so. So now if I'm cutting my 12-inch paper, I've got my measurement. It actually goes to about 12.5 out here. so you can cut your large paper all at once. Same level of precision. So here I'm just going to come in 1/8 of an inch and show you super skinny pieces. Super skinny pieces that you can have going just to straighten things out, to cut off any, just munched edges or something, and maybe you use your fisker, or maybe use the slide trimmer, maybe use an X-Acto knife, and you just need to straighten it out. This is perfect for that. All right, what else? So then you just give it a squeeze. We're going to flip it over. I'm going to pull my handle off and flip it over. The main uses for this guy is thick paper. 49 and market paper cuts like a dream in these trimmers. If you are cutting chipboard, or if you are assembly lining and you want to cut multiple pieces at the same time. So get your questions in the comments there. I'm going to have Matt just pop up the summary. Guillotine trimmer, we have 3 sizes. Increased precision with that chopping action, and you can cut more papers or thicker paper at the same time. Maybe not as portable as a Fiskars trimmer. The medium-sized one is pretty good, but really handy for nice, clean, precise cuts. All right, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a couple of questions.
Okay, question number 1.
One of them is from Adrian. It kind of addresses the 2 trimmer that you talked about already.
Okay.
She says her Fiskars slide
Here, I'll come over and read it. So my Fiskars slide trimmer tends not to cut straight all the way through. Usually this happens with heavyweight cardstock and with thin cuts. Is it user error, trimmer problem, or would a guillotine trimmer be better? Okay, just so heavyweight especially, so the Fiskars trimmer with heavier weight paper, and I'm not sure if you're referring to maybe 49 and market paper, which tends to be thicker, or more in terms of the heavy stock. I would say in all likelihood it is not user error. The Fiskars trimmers, whether it's the wire or whether it's this one that I have, with the plastic over time, that plastic can move and it can stretch. So I know when I have cut multiple sheets at a given time, if you're really pushing on it, if you have a tendency or you're not going perfectly straight, your blade can wow a little bit. When you're just doing thin paper, you usually don't have that problem because you won't get any resistance. But if you've got the thicker paper or multiple papers, it could be just that this little bar, and again, I can see it here, but it does shimmy a little bit, and I know that it can, especially if yours is older like mine, that plastic can soften up, and so there is a good tendency that it could be stretching when you don't think it is. So again, I don't know. I'm just rereading your question. Your user error, don't think it is. Trimmer problem, possibly. Would a guillotine trimmer be better? My recommendation is yes.
So you can come and try one.
That's a very good point, Matt. So we do have a full selection of these trimmers available as samples in the store. So if you have a paper, Adrian, that you consistently have issues with, or you just have some scraps, the next time you come into the store, bring it into the store and we are happy to let you try it. We've done that with the rotary trimmer. We have guillotines at the store, and we do have the new Sizzix trimmer at the store. Maybe just call first, the day before, just to make sure 100% in case, I've brought it home to do another video or something like that. But we are happy to let you try any of these trimmers in the store and see if we can address your concerns.
Okay, that's one other question.
Okay, one more question.
Diane says hers sticks when on the side when she cuts.
Okay, so Diane says mine sticks on the side when I cut. Diane, you may need to give us some more information. Are you talking about the Fisker's trimmer or a guillotine trimmer.
Ask this question during the guillotine.
It's asked during the guillotine, and when you say it sticks on the side, is it the blade that sticks, or what is it that's sticking? Maybe your best bet. This might not be something that we can necessarily troubleshoot on a video. The next time you come to the store, Diane, please bring your trimmer with you, and we are happy to have a look at it. It could be that where I talked about tightening it, you might need to loosen it. That's very possible. It could also be that there's something on your blade. So that's another thing that I learned today is if you are cutting things that maybe already have tape on, already have glue on, you do run the risk as the blade pushes down into that adhesive material, you do run the risk of getting gunk on your blade. So it might be just a matter of taking some hand sanitizer or some undo and trying to give your blade a good clean. Sorry about that. Be careful though, and I've done it. Don't run your finger back and forth on the blade. Make sure you've got some good padding of paper towel, a couple of layers of paper towel, or a nice soft cloth so that you're not cutting your fingers as you're trying to get the gunk off your blade. I've done that with scissors. I went like this to try and clean my blade off and sliced right up my finger. So when I say ask me how I know, trust me, I know. So Diane, probably our best bet is for you to bring your trimmer into the store and we can troubleshoot it from there for you.
She says thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions on guillotines?
No.
Okay, so Big Daddy's going back to bed.
But you're gonna have to speed up on the last two.
Matt's telling me to speed up, but I warned you guys, we have a lot of information to share tonight, so I'm going
Put
to
something on the table, you're out of focus. Not all weird.
All right. Just getting a sip of water. Matt says I need to focus, so here is the rotary trimmer. Okay, so tonight, trimmer number 3 that I'm talking about is specifically about the Tim Holtz rotary trimmer. I do know that there are other brands out there, other styles. I also know that the Tonic team and Tim Holtz have really done some, I don't know if I want to say innovative, but they have done some different mechanics that might be a little bit different than what I would call your typical rotary trimmer. So tonight, what I'm going to talk about is primarily about this trimmer. If you have questions about rotary trimmers in general, please do drop them in the comments. If I'm not sure whether it applies or not, then we'll address that at that time. All right, so not only is this a rotary trimmer by Tim Holtz and Tonic Studios, it is labeled as a mixed media trimmer. I think I got that right. This one I'm actually going to bring my notes are here.
Rotary media trimmer.
It is a rotary media trimmer. So Tim and the team very intentionally created this for mixed media people. Maybe you like to do collages. Maybe you like to use pastes and embossing folders and all kinds of things that have dimension. Maybe you like to use thicker substrates or thicker papers like chipboard, like cork, like corrugate paper. I have balsa wood here as well. I don't know that I would try wood. This is primarily for paper. Tim also said not for metal. You can cut foil paper, you can cut glitter paper, but he wouldn't recommend putting an actual sheet of metal in here or those kinds of things. So it is really well designed for cutting thicker materials, things that have dimension, and much like the guillotine trimmer, you can cut multiple sheets at one time. So his heavy stock, distress heavy stock paper is 130-pound paper. compared to say an 80-pound Nina that we use for coloring and basic card making. 130-pound is pretty darn thick. You can cut 3 sheets of heavy stock at one time. You can cut synthetic papers like Yupo, like foiled paper, like glitter cardstock. I'm even going to try some glitter foam here. I've got a bunch of different things here. Here is our no shed glitter cardstock that we carry. And I also brought home some chipboard as well as the cork and the corrugate to share with you. This is the blade cartridge. Let me flip it over like this. It is replaceable. What you would do is you would unscrew the end here, lift up the blade, remove this cartridge, add a new cartridge on. But at the time that this was launched, this is maybe 4 months, Matt?
I don't remember.
4 or 5 months, maybe a little bit longer. But at the time that Tim launched the product, he'd been using his for over a year and had yet to replace the blade. So again, it does have a metal bar that runs along it that with that friction, just like the guillotine trimmer, is going to keep that blade sharp. Again, short of saying self-sharpening, but pretty darn close. Metric and imperial rulers, top, middle, and bottom for all your easy cutting and depending on what size. If you look really closely, it has some common dimensions like the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 on here. It does have your finger guide. Don't go like this, or little Tommy thumb here is going to go to the hospital, I guess. There is also a reinforced steel bar underneath that has a rubber surface here to just guide the blade and keep this all reinforced and cutting smoothly. And again, for larger pieces, this one has 2 arms, one at the bottom, one at the top, one at the bottom. And you do have to kind of give them a final little shove to lock them into the place, but now they're not going to wiggle. So that gives you your extra stability when cutting large paper as well as the extra measurements. Now, going back to my notes, so it can cut lots of different substrates, lots of different materials. There is one key, and if you have talked to anyone who has had one of the Tim Holtz rotary trimmers and was not able to get a clean cut, it is likely for this reason. There are some exceptions as always, but it's likely because this cartridge blade does have some wiggle. It is not fully solid. It is not just going to go straight if you go like this. It is ergonomically designed, and what you're supposed to do is put your thumb here. Your fingers are going to wrap around, and you are actually going to gently push that blade in towards that metal base that it is following, that metal track. You are going to kind of lift with your thumb, push with your hand, and cut like this. That is going to make sure that you get that perfect, straight, seamless cut. All right, I'm going to cut paper first, just so you can see how beautifully this cuts. Yeah, we'll go with the 12 by 12 since I have it. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to cut it 1 inch over on this side.
You're a little off. You're a little off.
Little off of the top. Thank you. Matt is watching my camera space. All right, paper is lined up. Hold the guide. I'm also holding the paper kind of with the flat of my hand. Thumb, resting my hand, tucking in, and then rolling up. Very satisfying sound, very satisfying cut. Let's move up to the, let's do glitter. So, same thing, I'm going to slide it in. You can, it's just like the slide trimmer, you can go top to bottom, bottom to top, totally up to you. The more comfortable you get with this, you can, I mean, the way Tim was doing it, he was going down, up, super fast. He looked like the true pro that he is. All right, thumb, hand, Look at that. How beautiful is that? All right, next try. Foam. Should be pretty easy. I can't see foam being an issue. Hold it down, hold it steady, thumb up, fingers down. Ooh, smooth as butter. All right, let's try some cork. Now, once again, this is adhesive backed cork that I just found in my stash. Because this is cutting in a saw-like motion as opposed to chopping through, you are less likely to get that gunk on your blade. It is possible. Anything is possible, but your chances are much less with this style of cut. So I'm gonna easy peasy, and we will finish. Oh, you know what? I haven't done chipboard yet. Let's not do the corrugate. We're gonna do the chipboard. And just for giggles, I'm gonna do this at 1/4 of an inch. Let me show you how thin you can cut. Matt's questioning me. We're gonna have faith. We're gonna lift with our thumb. We're gonna tuck with our fingers. Look at that. Look at that. Now, I think that was more than 1/4 inch. That was probably more of a 1/2 an inch. I couldn't see the measurement properly, but you get the idea that you can do super thin. See if I can go just a little bit thinner. Look at that. Super thin on that super thick chipboard. So the one thing that Tim said is the real key as to when you know if your substrate, your paper, your chipboard, whatever it is you're cutting is too thick, is that it will resist. If you have to put your whole body into it, you should not be cutting it. So if we were to try the wood, for example, which I'm not going to do, I don't want to wreck this, but you're going to resist, and so you're going to stop. If you are trying to cut 4 sheets of distressed heavy stock and you get partway through and it just won't go any further, you're going to back it out. You're going to take it out. You're going to remove 1, maybe remove 2, and go back and cut again. So it absolutely can cut it. It will tell you when it's too much. Now, I don't have much mixed media, much paste here at home, but this is a little glow-in-the-dark paste that I created on the weekend. One of the key differences for people who like using paste, if you are cutting with the guillotine trimmer and chopping down, you run the risk of your paint chipping off, your paste chipping off. If you've done a 3D embossing folder, you could smush your design. With the rotary trimmer, that is much less likely to happen. So I'm going to try and strategically position this. So it's going to cut through some pasted stars. Make sure I do this right. So lift and tuck. Absolute precision, no loss of artwork. So if you are a mixed media person who likes the paste, who likes to layer with collage, if you are Marcy or you are Chris and you've got all these layers, all of these pastes, all of these fun things, the rotary trimmer is something I would highly recommend because you're going to be able to create all those backgrounds, create all of those starter pieces for your projects, and be able to cut them with absolute precision and reliability. I'm going to just quickly check my list. You can cut shrink plastic with this. You can cut UPO, even if you've done alcohol ink on it. You can cut chipboard. So this is the chipboard that we sell in the store. It is comparable, say, to a cereal box or the back of a notebook. So that's a good indication of weight. And somebody did ask on the video that I was watching about fabric. Fabric will not work successfully in this unless it has already been adhered to, say, a chipboard or something that has more of a firm backing to it. The fabric itself on its own will not cut, and it will not cut up to the thickness of Tim's etc. tags or some of his new etc. items. Those are just way too thick. So the key things to remember is that this is for heavier material or can be for heavier materials. It gives you precision cuts even through pastes. And so it's great for mixed media if you like paste or collage and lots of layers, and you get that ultimate in precision. So I will pause for questions on the rotary trimmer. Do we have any, Matt?
Nothing at this moment.
No questions about the rotary. Diane says she likes the way that you can cut chipboard, so absolutely. If you like those thicker layers or even just the potential of those thicker layers, this is definitely a super handy trimmer to have.
Diane would like to.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah. If you put washi tape on chipboard, will it cut?
If you put washi tape on chipboard, will it cut? Good question. Let me grab some washi tape here.
The answer is yes.
I believe the answer is yes, but you know what? While we've got it out, let's give it a try. So, if I've got my washi tape.
Then we have another question that goes back to trimmer.
Okay, let's do the washi tape first, and then we do have another question.
Or we can go back to those later.
All right, so here I'm going to put a piece of washi tape right here. I'm going to do another piece vertically. And then I tend to be a pusher-upper, but everybody has their own style. So hold it in place. Get your hand, and this is the one where I'm really just very conscious about hand position. Rock it in. Yep. No problem. Okay. You said there was a question about the guillotines?
Yeah, well, the Big Daddy.
Okay, question about the Big Daddy guillotine.
Can you cut glitter paper with the Big Daddy?
Can you cut glitter paper with the Big Daddy? Yes. I have done so many times. With the glitter paper, it's usually fairly thin. So where it does work on the rotary trimmer, if you've got the guillotine, that it will also work on that. All right, last one. So this is the newest one, and I will, in full transparency, I just started playing with it. We just had it in the store a very short time. It went live on September 1st, so we're coming up on 2 weeks of having this guy available. This is what I would call a multi-purpose tool or a multi-tool trimmer. Officially, it is called a scoring board and trimmer. Matt, I think, encapsulated it perfectly when he said it is a project trimmer. So this one, I would highly recommend it for you if you are a card maker.
Why'd you put it upside down?
Because that's the way the lid opens.
Oh.
No, I'm not trying to keep you guys awake by testing you. It is upside down on purpose. While I finish talking, I will leave it like this.
Thank you.
So if you are a card maker or a mini album maker, this one you're going to want to take serious look at. It has the paper trimmer. It has the bar trimmer, which gives you, so where we talked about the plastic having some wiggle on the slide trimmer, the bar trimmer, the bar doesn't move. So you're going to make sure that you are getting nice straight cuts every single time. But this one has a scoreboard in it. It has punches so that you can make envelopes, you can make tags, you can make boxes, you can make rosettes. It truly is a project board with so many different options. So now, because I have to do like this, here we go. So
we're focusing on the trimmer portion of it today.
Tonight we are going to focus primarily on the trimmer. We are coming up on a full hour of learning live tonight, so I really will focus on the trimmer part of it. I will talk through some of the different options of the projects, but we will dig really deep into this next week. So make sure you set your calendar, set your alarm for 8 o'clock on the 19th. And we will make an envelope. We will make a tag. We will make a box. We will make all the things. But when you open the box, I'm showing you this for a reason. There is a replacement blade that comes right in your kit, and it is stuck right to this cardboard piece here that's part of the packaging. So if you purchase one of these, please do not throw this out until you remove this extra blade. The extra blade is quite small and very easy to replace, but you don't want to lose it. You don't want to throw it in the trash. All right, let me get the box out of the way. I'm going to take off the cardboard. So again, when you get it home, don't throw this away until you get that little extra blade out. All right, so here's what this looks like. It is bigger than the Big Daddy guillotine. It does have a full 12-inch deck that you get to work on. There is also a full instruction guide. And again, I will call attention to you to you next week. But the instruction guide has QR codes. Use your phone, use your iPad, and those will take you to videos and extra instructions. But we're going to go through all the things, and I'm even going to create some cheat sheets for you as well. Also included is this envelope matrix table. I don't know if you can see it. Right now, it just looks like the world's most complicated bingo card, but don't worry, we'll go into that in maybe just a little bit, but definitely next week. So here we go. Bar trimmer. So like I said, you're not going to get the wiggle or the wow that you would with that plastic slider on the original Fiskars. The blade just nests in just like this, and it cuts right along that bar. You can see this one I can do with just my finger and thumb. And to replace it, you're just going to pop it open at this end. You lift this out. Here's where the little blade is. It's right here. You're just going to pop this out, get the replacement one, pop it back in, slide it back on your bar, and snap. Could not be simpler. We do already have replacement blades in the store, but remember, you've got an extra one in your packaging. Sizzix is, the parent company is a UK company. So with this trimmer, you have both metric and imperial, so inches and centimeters. Here on the cutting side, we've got inches here, we've got centimeters over here, we've got inches over here, and they are kind of all over the place. Lots and lots of rulers to choose from. Where it matters most is when you are using the scoreboard portion. So this scoreboard on this side is inches. And probably the one main constructive feedback that we have is a lot of these numbers and words are just kind of etched into the plastic. They can be hard to read. So my advice, and I'm probably going to do this afterwards, is I'm going to take a little bit of black acrylic paint and just get it in those numbers and some of those key areas, because that's probably our one thing that's a little bit tricky. Now this scoreboard pops out just like this. So this is your inches side. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. It says inch here. If you flip it over, it's centimeters. So if you are following along with a UK or Australian or someone, a designer that uses metric instead of inches, you've got all your measurements in that measurement family. It's hard to grab at first. Come on, there we go. It doesn't have a very big hole. So there we go. I'm going to pop that back over to the inches. So when you are cutting, you are going to use it just like you would that slide trimmer. Let me grab, here's some red, nice bright red. So if I want to cut at 5 inches, I'm going to just, now this one opens this way instead of this way. So for me, that's something I have to get used to, but it's easy peasy. You're going to slide your paper over. I'm going to line it up at that 5-inch mark. Hold it down. I like to hold the guides, and away you go. The level of precision on this is pretty awesome as well. It feels very, very smooth when you're cutting. I'm just going to come over 1/8 of an inch and show you how nicely, oh, wrong way. I keep getting it wrong. Nice and easy and precise. So that is the cutting part. Now, I told you you can score with this as well. For your, no, scoring I need to talk about tonight, and then we'll get into envelopes and all of that kind of thing. Matt's trying to smoosh me along. You've got this, this here is kind of your toolbar, if you will. If you are scoring from 12 inches, I would say until about 4 inches, you're going to want to leave this bar at the top. So if I've got this here, your little, I forgot to put it away, but your little scoring tool lives right here all together. So you pop that out, make sure this is at the top. I'm going to line it up at, I think I turned my paper around, but say I wanted to score at 4, I can just go like this. Easy peasy. Now I was saying that some of these measurements, if you get too small, it's nice and solid. There's no grooves in it. What you're going to do is you're going to slide this out and you're going to rotate it. Actually, no, I'm wrong. Don't slide it out. Keep it there, but still rotate it. And then here's where I can go. I'm going to line it up with that notch. There's my 2-inch mark. And there we go. And if we grab a real ruler, you can see 2 inches, 4 inches, super precise. Nice deep grooves. Darlene has been playing with this as well. And what she really liked about this is the fact that once you've got your score tool in there and you pull down towards your scoring area, it doesn't jump. It's got nice deep grooves that really keeps your scoring nice and straight. Now, like I said, we're going to get into this next time, but we can make envelopes with this. We can make tags with this. It has a corner rounder built right in. The other neat thing from a scoring standpoint is that you can score on an angle. So you're going to start here on this little dial here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but there are degrees. 0 degrees, 15 degrees, 15-degree increments up to 90 degrees. So if I wanted to score something on a 45-degree angle, I'm just going to line up that arrow, easy peasy like that, with that 45-degree mark. Make sure it's locked in there. I'm going to put my paper in here. Boop. And actually, you can do that from a cutting standpoint as well. So I can cut like that. So that cuts on an angle, or I can score. So now my score line is on that 40-degree diagonal. So it's got lots of great versatility, gives you diagonals, gives you straight lines. And to put it back into place, you're simply going to lift up and rotate it back and notch it back in. So the key things to this, and we will get into a lot more of these other projects that you can do, but a beautiful scoring board that's built right into your trimmer. So you don't need to have 2 tools. You just need to have one. It's got ultimate precision. It's got a nice, sturdy bar for your measurements, easy to change blade, and both those imperial and metric measurements. So just that final screen mat. Good for card makers, also good for mini album people. You'll see next week when we make envelopes and tags, you'll have lots of things to tuck in. It is multi-purpose and it gets you to streamline your crafting tools so that when you go traveling or when you are pulling things out to craft, that you're only pulling out one tool instead of 500. All right, any questions on it's not just a trimmer. It's an envelope punch board. It's a tag maker. It is a box maker, and it is really, truly a project tool.
So we have someone by the name of LM already has one of these. Darlene demonstrated it last week. Yeah.
I think that's our friend Lisa. And Lisa, you definitely have to get this out of the box and give it a try. We would love to see what you make with this.
And then Diane was just asking what the name of it was. Again.
So Diane, this is the Sizzix scoring board and trimmer tool. All right, so that looks like we have taken care of all of the questions. Upstairs hobby room, absolutely. This is a very cool tool, and trust me, after next week, you're going to be saying it is a super duper cool tool. Again, to recap the recap, shared with you information on 4 different trimmers tonight. There is the slide trimmer, which is perfect for crafters of all kinds, but I would say more specifically for scrapbookers. We have the guillotine trimmers, anywhere from the little baby to the mama to the big daddy, which is good for if you want to cut with super precision and up to 2 or 3 sheets of just regular cardstock. Great for mass producing certain measurements and really getting those nice clean cuts. We talked about the rotary trimmer, the media trimmer, which is ideal for mixed media people who do collaging, who do paste work, who want to cut thicker substrates or even thicker paper like the Distress Heavy Stock. And then we have our multi-purpose tool, our scoreboard and trimmer from Sizzix, which is fantastic for our card makers and mini album peeps. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to email us, and make sure you set your alarm for 8 o'clock next Tuesday as we delve deeper into this Sizzix trimmer. And hey, don't forget, tomorrow night is What's New at 7 o'clock. And this weekend, I haven't shared this information yet, but this weekend is Tote Bag Weekend and SCT Magazine launch. So all kinds of goodies there. Watch What's New tomorrow. Watch the newsletter this week to get all of the details. That's it for me tonight. Wishing everyone a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.